And okay, so I think I'm live, but I have no idea because I've never done this before. But let me check if I'm actually live. Am I live? Oh my gosh, I'm live. Okay. Hi, everybody. Whoever's here and watching, I can't really tell yet. Yeah, so I've decided to do this so-called webinar live on YouTube and Facebook because I feel like it reaches more people. And also, it's free and easily accessible. I want to do a brief kind of disclaimer for people who use ASL that I will be doing a separate live next week in ASL. And I will also be adding captions to this video once it's done, once it has been saved. I apologize for not providing access to this one. And for those of you who are fluent in English and have access to this, welcome. Thank you for being here. I have to admit that I wanted to add, just one moment, please bear with me. I wanted to add media and I haven't figured out how to do that. So just one moment. I hope this works. If I can't figure this out, I apologize. And I'm going to be using, yeah, I'm sorry. Right now I can't do it. So I'm just going to be literally pulling it up on my phone. Yeah, so okay. Anyway, we'll just do it like this. I have this strange black rectangle that I may not be able to remove. So for this video, we'll just be using this black rectangle for no reason at all whatsoever. But since we are here and we're ready to go, we're just going to go ahead and start. I really, comments? I don't know. I really can't tell who's here. I apologize. I'm going to have to see if I can do it on my phone and see if there's anybody commenting. But if not, that's okay. So the reason I wanted to do this, several basically series of webinars and lives, is because first of all, because I am very passionate about homeopathy. I practice classical homeopathy, and I also treat everyone around me with homeopathy. I have stopped sort of pushing homeopathy upon others. The reason I've had done it in the past was because it's capable of curing so much. It's capable of healing so much. And knowing what I know, I just want everyone to be able to have access to it, because I really think the world will be a better place when everyone is a little healthier and happier. But that's kind of the intention behind this. And homeopathy is really one of those sciences and systems of medicine that is both confusing and pretty straightforward. A lot of people shy away from it or feel intimidated by using it because it takes a little bit of education and practice, or learning and practice. And the more those of us who do use it or who are more experienced in using it, the more we talk about it and share with others, I think the more comfortable everyone else will become. Homeopathy has been called the medicine of the people because it is so accessible. Very often it is either extremely low cost to procure or basically free. I will explain why it can be free or how it can be free in a little while. But in the meantime, I'm going to start by saying a disclaimer that I am not a medical doctor and I do not diagnose nor treat medical conditions. I provide education. So this educational live video is for the purposes of education and not treatment and not providing a medical opinion of any kind. I will be sharing some of my experience and I will be hopefully showing some visuals to go along with that. So homeopathy, what does it look like, first of all, before I go into a little bit of a history about or explanation about what it is? So if you've never used homeopathy before, you might have still seen these little blue tubes at health food stores or pharmacies, vitamin shop, wherever you might have come across. Usually it's a display with lots of little tubes and lots of little words written on them. And I had come across them before I started using homeopathy, and I did feel a little intimidated by them myself. For example, this is a tube of a medicine called belladonna. If you look up belladonna, it is actually a poisonous plant. So a lot of people have told me you're being very irresponsible by sharing the fact that you can treat things with belladonna because it is a poison. But think about this. Why would a poison be sold in Whole Foods? Right? I mean, right. And that's, I guess, part of the logic. Poisons are pretty well regulated. Another remedy that uses a poisonous substance is Arsenicum album. It's made of arsenic. Obviously, Whole Foods is not going to sell you a tube of arsenic to take. The reason it is safe to take is because it is very, very highly diluted. It's so diluted that I challenge you to take this whole tube or even just one of the little pellets that come inside of it, little white sugar pellets that look like this. Oops. Yes, I think you could see better this way. I challenge you to take it under the microscope and find belladonna. Show me what's poisonous about it if you believe so. In fact, there are nanoparticles that are not actually seen with a regular microscope that is available to us. So the nanoparticles, the way that these remedies are prepared, make it possible to treat specific conditions without actually providing any portion of the original substance that that comes in the original. So let's say it's belladonna or even arsenic. None of that is present in here. In this particular potency, so this number 30C shows the potency of the remedy. Potency means how powerful, how strong it is. And what makes it powerful, what gives it its energy, is how much it's diluted and then how much it's succussed. And succussion means shaking it and hitting it. There are instruments that pharmacies use to create homeopathic remedies, and they are also prepared by hand sometimes. So the founder of homeopathy was Samuel Hahnemann, who developed this system in the 1700s in Germany. He was originally a medical doctor who was not satisfied with the way medicine was practiced in his time, and he started looking at alternative ways to treat his patients. You can look up the history of homeopathy. It's readily available online. I can also provide information at a later time, but the purpose of this presentation is just to show how to use it. So how to actually apply it in your everyday life and what types of situations and conditions it can treat. In homeopathy, we actually do not diagnose conditions. So if you, let's say, have you ate something that didn't agree with you, and you're having a reaction to it, like you actually put food that maybe was spoiled, and your body is rejecting it. Or if you develop a condition that we call a virus, basically, if you get sick with something separate from what you ate, you become sick. In both situations, you might experience vomiting and diarrhea, for example, but they don't have to be diagnosed in order for us to treat them. So we can treat them similarly based only on symptoms. And symptoms are the visuals of what actually, how the body expresses what is wrong with it. It's not always visual. It's also temperature, of course, body temperature. It's also the sensation. So sometimes a headache might feel different depending on what's going on in the entirety of your body. And that's why homeopathy is holistic. So it approaches the entire being, whether it's human, animal, or plant. Yes, homeopathy can help plants. Imagine that. So, although there is a lot of actual misinformation about homeopathy out there, like if you look it up on Google, you will find anything from pseudoscience to placebo to danger. There are all kinds of concepts going around simply because it's a system of alternative medicine that is not. Despite being around for almost 300 years, it is just not well known for numerous reasons that I'm not going to go into today. But there have been homeopathic hospitals and colleges in the US. Most of them have closed. If you go to Philadelphia, there is an actual statue there to one of the homeopathic hospitals, or I believe colleges, but you can look that up. And in Europe and other countries, it's actually practiced and recognized much more readily. For example, in India, doctors have to go through 5 years of medical school before becoming homeopaths. So you actually have to have a medical degree in India and in Russia as well before you are allowed to practice homeopathy. In other parts of the world, it is completely different. So it really varies a lot depending on the history of the country, depending on the government system, and a lot of other factors. But nonetheless, homeopathy does work for anybody who uses it as long as they do it appropriately. So again, I cannot see comments. I am doing this for the first time and I have no idea how to see comments. I'm currently checking and I'm not seeing any comments. So hopefully that's the case. So again, this is what a homeopathic remedy might look like in a store. This particular brand, the Boiron brand, is manufactured in Canada. And so in North America, it is probably the most easily recognized brand of homeopathy. I also recommend anybody who is serious about using homeopathy for themselves and they want to learn how to use it, they want to start trying it out in themselves, their families, their pets, whomever, that they invest in a kit, because what makes homeopathy special is that one remedy can cover numerous conditions, numerous illnesses and feelings and situations. It can help in chronic conditions as well as acute or short-term conditions, such as flu, colds, injury, headache, stomach upset, food poisoning, anything acute that basically starts rapidly and lasts for a short time, less than a week or a month. And so because it can cover so many, we do sometimes have to try different remedies before we find the one that is the right match for the condition that we're treating. So investing in a kit such as this. So this is a kit from a brand called Helios. It's a pharmacy, from a homeopathic pharmacy in the UK that produces homeopathic remedies that are that use organic sugar only, whereas the Boiron brand uses lactose and sugar. So if you're lactose intolerant or trying to avoid eating dairy, This is a good brand to try. But I absolutely love these kits because you get, I mean, so many remedies for your money. I think this kit is about $70 on Amazon. I used to sell them. I just ran out and I haven't ordered any more yet because it's a little bit time consuming to have to ship them. But I might go back to doing it again. But no matter where you get it from, it's actually such a great investment. So it comes with these little glass vials inside, and they each have various remedies. All of these little sugar pellets. And then if you run out, so if I'm running out of this one, I'm almost out, um, then you can actually refill them. And it's very convenient. It's very tiny. I have small hands and I can still hold it just like this. And I put it in my purse and carry it around with me. So it's extremely convenient to carry around. In homeopathy, we also use a lot of other types of remedies that are prepared the same way, but serve slightly different purposes. And I will explain a little bit more about that as well. But just to give you an idea, this is called cell salt. It's prepared homeopathically, meaning that it is also diluted and also succussed, but it has a different dilution. So this one is a mineral. It's a combination of iron and phosphorus called ferrum phos. It uses Latin names. And this one does have a trace of the actual mineral in it. So the way it works is it's also nanoparticles that get absorbed through your mouth before even reaching your digestive tract. And that way it enters your cells much more quickly and gets recognized by your cells and starts to becomes active right away. This is called a flower remedy or a flower essence. So I will explain a little bit soon about what we use to create homeopathic remedies, but these specific ones, so these are not pellets, they are diluted in alcohol. This is brandy, and it's also prepared the same way, and it also does have some particles of the original substance, which are flowers. And these are Bach flower remedies. There are also bush flower remedies, Australian bush flower remedies, but they are basically homeopathic in that they're prepared with a homeopathic approach. So in homeopathic, the way that we prepare remedies, no, not the way we prepare remedies, but the substances that we use to create remedies are taken from pretty much everywhere all around us. So some people mistaken homeopathy for, or they think that the word homeopathy is synonymous with herbology or natural medicine or naturopathic medicine. And that is not the case. Homeopathy is a separate system. While it is holistic, as I said before, because it does encompass the entire being and it does affect the entire being, it is not synonymous with herbal, for example, because herbalism and herbal medicine, which are just as valid and uses a completely different approach than homeopathy, you are focused primarily or only on herbs, so plants, whereas homeopathy uses herbs, plants, to create the remedies, as well as minerals, animals, and even diseases themselves. So a diseased tissue from the body is taken to create a homeopathic remedy, then that then can be used to treat that very disease. So the way it works is that homeopathy is finds a simillimum. So it finds a similar condition, like cures like. It finds a similar condition to the condition that the person is in when they're ill. I will explain with a few examples. So there's a remedy called allium cepa, which is made from an onion. They took an onion, like a tiny particle of an onion, and diluted it in water, and then succussed multiple times, diluted again multiple times. And as a result, when you take the original onion, like you have an actual onion in your hand, you cut it, a lot of times, maybe even most of the time, when people cut an onion, they experience specific symptoms right away, because as soon as it hits your nose and eyes, it starts to irritate them. So a lot of times your eyes swell up, they become itchy, they become dry. You almost you can't really see out of them, because I personally tear up a lot when I cut an onion. You might experience some symptoms of the runny nose. And that condition that you experience when you're cutting an onion is what the actual homeopathic remedy that's made from the onion can treat. So let's say this is allium cepa. If I have allergies, or if I have a cold where the symptoms were meaning that I experienced the same thing that I would have experienced if I had cut an onion, I start experiencing it obviously separately from the onion. Like maybe I'm allergic to something in the spring that grows, some environmental um, allergen, or an animal, like animal dander, cat, dog allergy, and my symptoms feel the same way that they would were I to cut an onion. Then I can take allium cepa, which is made from the onion, and the symptoms will go away because it was the right match to my overall condition. When we talk about the poisons, for example, so arsenicum album, the original substance that is used to create the remedy, is a poison. And as a poison, if I were to ingest rather, the poison, I would become ill, and my illness, most likely in most people who are poisoned by the substance, would experience um, uh, digestive issues, so a lot of pains, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, chills, sweats, skin. The skin would start burning. All of my mucous membranes would start burning. My eyes would start burning. I might start feeling anxious. I might get more thirsty. So if I were to get poisoned by arsenic, then that same condition, if let's say you have the flu or some other type of condition that creates in your body these symptoms, not necessarily all of them, maybe just some of them. So if you have like the burning in your eyes, if you have gastric issues, along with chills and fever and burning of the skin, then arsenicum album, the homeopathic remedy that is made from the original substance arsenic, but then diluted multiple times and succussed, moved around, so the molecules become active. That remedy in homeopathy will help my condition. So if I'm sick, that in a way that presents as though I'm poisoned by arsenic, then arsenicum album will help me cure it. And every remedy in homeopathy is prepared the same way. So the way we know all this is that over the 300 years, numerous humans have done what are called provings, and they're basically experimentation. So they would have taken, initially, they actually took a tiny particle of the original substance, but now they use just the homeopathic dilution. And when you take it, it becomes, if you have a healthy body and nothing's wrong with you, you're not ill right now. So you're well, you're healthy, feeling great, and you start taking a homeopathic remedy. After a while, you're going to experience the symptoms as though you were ill with that particular, from that particular substance. And so that's how people collect over time. So let's say I took it and I experienced the burning, and I experienced itching of the skin and fever, but someone else took it and had more of gastric symptoms. We will compile all of those symptoms. So thousands of people worldwide they will write notes on what was wrong with them, and then they will compile it, and that's called approving. And that's how we know that a particular remedy is acting in a particular way. And right now in homeopathy, there are thousands of remedies that are used worldwide. Not all of them are necessary to use. Some of them are used in very unique cases and very unique illnesses, and some of them are used regularly. And the ones that are used most often are called polycrest remedies. And these types of kits that you see, the Helios ones, there are other kits, like Boiron has kits. Those are usually consisting of polycrest, so the remedies that can cure a lot of different conditions. Now there's some talk about measles going around, for example. So if you were to become ill with the measles, then belladonna is actually a good remedy to have around, because some of the symptoms of the belladonna poisoning are actually comparable to the symptoms that you experience when you are ill with the measles. And so, like, eyes are affected, for example, red, swollen eyes, lacrimation, so tearing of the eyes, and even sometimes like pus starts to develop. So belladonna is good for that. It's good for high fever. It's good for a feverish condition overall. A lot of heat and redness, even delirium, this delirious state when you are ill and have a high fever. So that is what belladonna can help with. So it's good to have around if you are concerned about catching the measles. And another one that's good to have around is called pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is a really great remedy because it often acts in place of an antibiotic. It can cure a lot of conditions that are so that where the symptomatology includes pus, it includes changes in mood. It also helps with ear infections. It helps with hormonal changes. So there's a lot of different ways that it can help. So someone can take the same remedy for two completely different conditions, and the same remedy will help them. However, you still have to follow the concept of the simillimum. That is the most important thing to understand when using homeopathy. So whereas if you bought an over-the-counter like pain reliever, like a Tylenol or Advil, usually just one of them you would use for, like, if you had a backache, or if you just had let's say a tooth extraction, or if you have a fever and you're uncomfortable. For all of those completely separate conditions, you would use the same medicine. And in regular over-the-counter medicine, they usually measure dosage on based on the weight and the amount of the actual active substance. So usually in milligrams or micrograms or milliliters. Whereas in homeopathy, if you take the entire tube of this, like if I were to open it and just eat the entire tube of belladonna, that is the equivalent in action, meaning that the way that it is going to affect me, my body, is going to be exactly the same as if I just took the one pellet that just came out into my cap. Why? Because homeopathy is energy medicine, and it sends signals to the body of what to do. When the remedy is wrong, it's a wrong match, the body is not going to recognize it, and nothing is going to change. When it's the right match, the body is going to recognize it, and it's either going to get better right away, or it's going to start getting better, depending on how much of it it's going to need. So incidentally, I just wanted to show, some people struggle with this. So this tube is made this way. So you turn this bottom part, or I guess the cap, and you just turn it once, and then the pellet comes out. Then you put it either straight in your mouth, or you can create a water solution. When you have a water solution, it actually extends. So you can take one of these little pellets, put it in a small bottle of water, and take a sip from that bottle, and that's going to be your one dose. If you're using the remedy for, let's say, the flu, and you need rather to take several doses, then that extends how many doses you can get out of the one little pellet. So that's how you can save a lot of money using homeopathy, because even if you're treating yourself, or a homeopath is treating you for a chronic condition, you can actually extend one pellet for a week, for up to 5 to 7 days. Because if you put it in water, and we recommend putting it in the fridge so that it doesn't spoil too quickly, because there is sugar in it and lactose. So if you keep it in the fridge, you can use it for up to 5 days. And what you would do is just take one sip, close it, put it back in the fridge, and then the next day, if you need to take it once a day, for example, if you need to take it twice a day, and you would do it twice a day, but the next time you would just take it back from the fridge, shake it up, succuss it on your own a little bit to get the molecules floating and to raise the vibration just a little bit so that your body can then recognize it. And then you would sip again from that same bottle, and that'll be your next dose. So there's a lot that you can do in homeopathy in order to extend the life of the remedy. So I'm going to attempt to show some pictures of, I think I have it here. Some pictures of one of my patients that will be very interesting to use to explain concept in homeopathy. So basically, this is my mom's 18-year-old cat. You could see this cat had a very severe gum infection. The symptom that this cat is displaying is a swollen whole side of the face. So let's just say it's a swollen gum or a swollen cheek. So this entire cheek was swollen. The eye right above the tooth was also affected. So it's kind of like pressed in. There was some pus coming out of the eye, and there was some pus coming out of the ear. And my mom reached out to me because she was trying to avoid taking this poor cat to the vet because it is, first of all, most likely would require beyond just the visit, it would require a surgery or antibiotics, both of which are really not that great for an 18-year-old elderly cat. But beyond that, it was really just she was trying to avoid the stress of taking this cat to the vet, and we were trying to see if homeopathy would help prior to taking the cat to the vet. Now, I am not advocating for like avoiding doctors or avoiding vets or anything like that, but homeopathy can help along the way. So homeopathy can either support your medical treatment, or it can even sometimes help cure your condition completely before you get a chance to see a doctor. Sometimes it could be logistics, like the doctor is too far, there is an emergency and you need to treat it right away, or you're waiting to see a doctor, or maybe a doctor isn't available right away and you need to wait for an appointment. So there are various situations, but you would have to gauge for yourself. As I said before, I am not a medical professional. I practice classical homeopathy, and classical homeopathy works differently than how doctors work. We don't diagnose, we go with the symptoms. And of course, if there is an urgent situation and we are able to provide a remedy while you're waiting to be seen by a medical professional, then that's obviously even better. So what I did with this cat right away was we started giving her a remedy called heparsulf. And heparsulf is another remedy similar to how pulsatilla acts. It also acts as a quote unquote antibiotic because it does help with conditions where there's pus, where there's an inflammation, there's pain. So it can also help in situations where there's an ear infection, for example. So I was trying to find the heparsulf in the kit, but it doesn't matter. So the point is, we put the little pellet in her water and diluted it, and then we just gave her some drops into her mouth. And after 2 days of doing this, I mean, she started feeling better almost right away. We gave her heparsulf, and then we gave her another remedy called silica. So because of the intensity of this infection, although normally we use one remedy at a time in classical homeopathy, because once you give one remedy, you have to always see how the body reacts. But in this condition, both remedies, heparsulf and silica, help to help the body to get rid of an infection with, in this case, pus or some substance in it. So it's either going to come out or it's going to be absorbed by the body, and then it's going to get discharged with the waste. And so this is what happened on day 2 of this treatment. So her cheek burst open and all of that gunk, all of that infection and pus came out. Once that happened, This is a little gross, I apologize, but that way you can see the actual action of the remedies. Once that happened, we switched to remedies. So instead of continuing the same remedy, now the condition has changed. So now we have to respond to how the condition has changed. And we started using a different remedy, which was at that time, I believe I gave a little bit more silica just to get rid of the remnants. And then after that, we started giving Staphysagria. And Staphysagria is a remedy that helps to heal incisions. So if you had surgery and you want to help to heal the place that was sutured, then you would take Staphysagria and your skin will heal much faster than it ordinarily would. It also helps to avoid the development of an infection. And so we gave Staphysagria, and on day 4, this is what the cat looked like. This is a reminder that this cat was not touched in any way, not handled, meaning that she was fed and she was cared for as usual, but she wasn't, nothing was cut. She didn't undergo surgery and she wasn't given any antibiotics. So this is the cheek. It actually looks like it was sutured only with the help of Staphysagria. So this is how the remedies act. And this is why you always have to check to make sure that you are giving the right remedy. And I will explain a little bit later how to find out which remedy to choose. So seeing that the cat's condition has already been improving, I actually switched from the high potency remedies, which are these in the 30C, and I went with cell salts. And cell salts help rebuild the cells. So they support specific actions of the body, and each of them does something different. And the remedies that we used were calcium based because they rebuild skin, mucous membranes, and also silica, but in a different dilution. So whereas silica in a high potency, such as 30C, 200C, and then it goes up from there to 1M and 10M, and basically those strong or very high potencies and dilutions, we switched to a lower potency, which is 6X, and that is only diluted 10 times, which means that there is that mineral still present. And that helps to keep your skin healthy, keep your hair strong. So it was supportive of this regeneration that needed to happen once the infection was drained. So thanks to that, we were giving the calcium minerals. And after 1 week, this is what the cat looked like. Completely healthy, very furry, and very happy. So this was a situation where we had the quote unquote luxury to experiment with a homeopathic remedy because it was someone who felt comfortable with my abilities to help heal this cat. And also because of the circumstances that this cat really wasn't in the best condition to be taken to the vet. And that's why we were able to be successful in healing this cat's condition. You can do the same with yourself, with your family, as long as you feel comfortable using homeopathy. You wouldn't start treating something like a gum infection right away. You would start little by little. A lot of people start with arnica. Many people already know arnica. Arnica is available in various forms, in creams, in gels. It's a great first aid to pretty much any trauma, any bruise, bump, as long as the skin hasn't been cut. So arnica helps when it's, you hurt yourself, a bump. It helps with all kinds of, meaning that the intensity, like if you hit your head, if you hit your arm, your leg, if it's a tiny bruise versus a large bruise, it's still going to help, but you're going to have to adjust how much of it you're taking. So how often you take it. The way that homeopathy is taken in acute situations, and again, a reminder that acute means short term, it's not a chronic condition. For example, if you have joint pains, arnica, or like meaning ongoing joint pains, not as a result of an injury, but an ongoing pain, arnica is not going to be the remedy of choice, because you're actually going to have to see a professional homeopath in order to determine the original cause of this joint pain, and then the treatment will be a much more complex. So I'm not talking about chronic treatment right now. I'm only talking about acute. And in acute situations, so if you had an injury, I use my kids as examples all the time because I have two boys and they are very active boys. They are always running around, falling, hurting each other in various ways, sometimes accidentally, sometimes not accidentally. They're dancers, so I have arnica around with me all the time in case, something happens, any kind of injury. And what I normally do is I will give arnica, first of all, right away. So if they I will use an example. My younger son, a few years ago, fell. They were playing and he fell and smashed his face against the floor. Maybe 2-3 seconds later, he came running and screaming to me. I happened to have my little tube of arnica next to me, and I just went boop and popped it into his mouth while I was comforting him. I was watching his face, and I could see that the redness, he had redness all the way around his face, started going away right away, and his initial reaction of screaming and crying also subsided right away. So meaning within the first few minutes, 2, 3, 5 minutes of my giving him arnica. So right away it was acting to help him heal. And then I gave him one other dose in about 10 minutes. So you can give something like arnica, and for acute severe conditions, you can give it frequently, every 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes when treating an acute condition like this. In this case, arnica is very easy to match because the symptoms that are displayed are literally the injury, the hit to the face. And so because it's so easy to match, arnica is obviously the right remedy, and it starts acting right away. Sometimes you may not see a change for a while, and that could be because either the remedy is wrong, meaning that you didn't select the right one, or it could be because you need a few more doses. A lot of times, again, in acute prescribing, in acute conditions, you will see a change either after the first dose, you will see an improvement, or after second, and definitely after third. And if you don't see changes, then that is the wrong remedy, and you want to try a different remedy. And not just any random remedy, but a remedy that is closely related. So for example, if you have something in a stomach upset or a GI situation, either pain or vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, then a lot of times people will use Nux vomica. Nux vomica is great for all types of GI-related issues, but so is Arsenicum album. So you would have to start differentiating between whether you want to use Nux vomica or Arsenicum album. And the difference, for example, is that Arsenicum album, the way that their symptoms are going to appear, someone who needs that remedy, are going to be more, there's more anxiety, there's more like worry, there's more concern about, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I need you, hold me, help me. So the mental and emotional state of the person who has a condition that can benefit from Arsenicum album is going to be different from someone who needs Nux vomica, and the sensations are going to be a little different. Someone who needs Nux vomica outwardly may actually appear much more cranky and like, leave me alone. You don't know what you're doing. Get away from me. This hurts so much. So the mood of the person is going to be different. In Arsenicum album, also, the person might be very thirsty but drink little sips, whereas in Nux vomica, the person might be thirsty for more water. And the temperature of the water might be different. So all of those things you would take into consideration when you are treating someone with homeopathy. And I will show you a few resources that you can use in order to make those decisions. So let's see. And let's see, I wanted to show. Okay, so the resources, for example, and unfortunately, again, I am not being successful at this technology today, so I'm going to be using my phone to assist me. But a free resource that is available, and there are several materia medicas that are available. Materia medica is what we use to look up the description of each of the remedies that is available in homeopathy. Homeoint.org is here. I don't know if you can see. So I will add more description to the once this video ends, I'm going to add some of the resources to the description. But it's Homeoint, HOMEOINT.org. And it brings up this giant website that has lots of resources. It looks like this. Lots of resources and lots of words. And over here, you have some options on the right. There are some columns with MM, which stands for Materia Medica, and Rep, which stands for Repertory. So when you're trying to cure a condition or you're trying to feel better, help somebody feel better with homeopathy, you would go into the repertory. And there are numerous ones, but I'm just going to use one as an example. And it looks like this. It is separated by various systems of the body as well as various parts of the body. Because again, we're going to be paying attention to all of the symptoms that we are getting from someone who's ill. So here, it's broken down into mind. So what I just explained about arsenicum album, someone who is sick and needs that remedy is going to display a lot of anxiety and a lot, and they won't be able to sit still. They'll be like moving around or moving from place to place. So this is information that you're going to find in the part that says mind. Head usually refers to how it feels inside. So it's not what you're thinking, but it's how it feels. So whether it's a headache where it, like, let's say it feels like a band around your whole head, or sometimes it just feels like it hurts right here. Sometimes it just hurts here. Sometimes it's a burning kind of pain. So arsenicum album is good for burning types of pains. Sometimes you have burning in your chest when you're sick. So, or burning in your eyes, that type of thing. So this is what you would be paying attention to. Another, what do you call it? Division? Another section of this, the repertory is eyes. So then again, you're looking at what's going on with the eyes. We're not used to treating ourselves this way. We usually go, my eye hurts, my head hurts. Like we don't think that specifically. And this is what is necessary when you're starting to use homeopathy, is really start to pay attention to the sensations in your body. Start to pay attention, if you're treating your family, to how they're displaying symptoms. Start asking them, what does it hurt? How does it hurt? You'll see it also sometimes if your child is sick, like if they're covering their eyes, ask them if the light is bothering them. That's also something that helps you differentiate between the various remedies. There's eyes, ears, nose, face. So nose would be like if your nose is stuffy, if one of the nostrils is stuffy, or if your nose is running, or if it's only running at night, all of that, as much work as it feels like. Once you select the right remedy, it's actually, because of how quickly it can work and act on the body, it's very much worth it. And after a while, you'll understand just what a benefit it is to use homeopathy on a regular basis, because you start feeling healthier overall. So there's nose, there's face, which is different from head, because what's on your face, for example, if the color of the face changes, or there's eruptions on the face, all of that information is going to be there. Mouth is like inside the mouth. If you have like sores coming up, or the actual sensations or pain in the mouth, or sometimes there is dryness or there's extra saliva. So all of that is going to be in that section of the website. Tongue talks about how it feels, but it also talks about the appearance of the tongue. So in some illnesses, the tongue might have a coating, or the tongue might be dry, or the tongue might be cracked, or it might be mapped. So there's like actual sections on the tongue. So all of that is taken into consideration. There is then taste, gums, teeth, throat, stomach, abdomen, urinary system, male sexual system, female sexual system, circulatory system, locomotor system, which is the extremities, so the movement of the body, the legs, arms, and everything else that moves with muscles, skin, so not just your face, but the skin on your whole body. And then there are specific sections of the body where the skin might look different, which is also something you can pay attention to. There's fever, nervous system, so how you sleep, for example, and other types of feelings that come up within the nervous system. And then there are generalities, which is, it just talks about certain conditions that have already been shown to appear in certain remedies as a kind of general condition. And modalities at the bottom refers to what makes you feel better or worse, which is also an important part of determining which remedy to use. That's a lot of information. I completely understand that. But when you're starting to use homeopathy, I would suggest learning little by little. So like another really helpful thing that we use is a system called, or an acronym. Is that what it's called? Acronym? Called CLAMS. CLAMS. And the C stands for concomitant. Concomitant. The L stands for location. The A stands for original. Wait, what is the symptom? Modality. What does A stand for in CLAMS? This is funny. I don't know why the A totally just escapes my brain. Oh yeah, etiology, that's why. Because it's spelled with an A, etiology. So what happened, etiology, what happened right before? What might have caused this condition? For example, stress. For example, some sort of shock, right? That's something where in the case of arnica, it was the injury. So it was something that hit your body. That was the etiology. That's what led to you're feeling pain now. M is modality. So that's what I just showed you, which was what makes you feel better or worse. So sometimes, let's say you have a headache and looking at the light makes you feel much worse, but turning off the light in the room makes you feel better. That would be an example of a modality. Or you're thirsty, drinking warm water makes you feel better in a specific condition, if you have a sore throat or if you have a stomach ache. Then S is actually just a symptom. So even though you start with the original symptom to help you remember this approach to selecting remedies, we have this CLAMS acronym. And the original symptom is like the symptom that bothers you the most. So a lot of times, even when you have something like the flu, when everything is affected in the body, you have the headache, you also have a fever, or you also have body aches, and you also have a stuffy nose, and you also have a sore throat, and you have a bunch of different things, or you might have even a skin rash. You start with the symptom that is the most bothersome, and then the rest would be the concomitant. So it would be con with the rest of whatever else is going on. And then when you get the whole collection of symptoms and you make the right match, that's when you start seeing a difference and an improvement. And one most important thing to mention is that when you do find the right remedy and you take it and you start to notice changes, this is what to watch out for. You need to, so One thing that can happen if the match is correct is you start feeling better right away. Or if you give it to your child, they start feeling better. They're like, well, maybe they were lying around whining or wanting to be held. And after taking the remedy, they suddenly kind of jump up and go back to playing. And you're like, oh, something has changed because they're clearly feeling better. Maybe they're no longer in pain, or maybe they or maybe they're in less pain. So in that case, you don't have to give the remedy again unless the symptom comes back and they go back to feeling crappy. But if you actually see an improvement, then you really don't need to administer the remedy again because the body understood what to do in order to heal itself. Another thing that can happen is if you're taking it, you might start feeling like you want to go to sleep, not necessarily tired, but more like sleepy, and you kind of like your body's telling you that it wants to rest in order to recuperate from the condition. And then when you do allow yourself to rest and go to sleep, or your child falls asleep, when they wake up, they actually might be completely healed, or they might feel a lot better because while you sleep, your body is able to work in order to recuperate. Another thing that can happen is this is something that a lot of people may feel uncomfortable with initially, is that you start to get discharges. So for example, if you have a headache and it's like a really bad headache and you feel all congested and stuffy, and you take a remedy and all of a sudden your nose starts running. Like it feels like an extra symptom. Like, why do I want my nose to run? But in reality, what it means is that the remedy has affected the body in a way that the body recognized and now is doing something that needs to be done in order for the headache or in order for the whole condition to go away. And so once the nose starts running, you're going to notice that your headache is gone, right? And now the next step or next stage of the development of this particular condition is that your nose starts running. Now, in general, in classical homeopathy, we recommend not doing anything in order to help your nose to stop running, because that can bring back, if you do it incorrectly, it can suppress the expression of the runny nose and bring you back to the previous state where you had a headache. So we try to allow for that type of discharge to happen naturally. Sometimes maybe you have a sore throat and then all of a sudden you take a remedy and you start coughing. The soreness of the throat has gone away, but you're coughing and you're like, whoa, that's an extra symptom. But it's actually what the body is doing is getting rid of whatever is wrong with it that makes it feel crappy in order to move on to the next stage of healing. And so that's a good sign. But what you want to watch out for is, for example, if you are nauseous and you take a remedy and you throw up, in general, in that particular sequence, throwing up is a good thing because you're getting rid of the sensation of nausea. You're getting rid of what was causing the nausea. So sometimes if it's like food poisoning, the vomiting gets your body rid of the initial substance that poisoned it, that made it ill. But if you throw up once, that's great. If you throw up twice, that's good. But if you throw up multiple times, then that's not good anymore because your body is losing fluids. It's losing what it needs in order to be healthy. And then you need to really watch out for how you're feeling. So if you're throwing up one time and you're feeling great afterwards, that's what we are looking for. But if you are throwing up multiple times, whether you're taking a remedy or not, you're throwing up over and over and over, you're losing a lot of fluids. If you have diarrhea, where it's like running through you, you're losing fluids. So in that case, you're going to look at a remedy that's going to help to stop you from losing fluids. So as an overall, because we are now pretty much out of time, as an overall approach to treating with homeopathy and to using homeopathy on your own, it's very important to start paying attention to your sensations in your body. And if you are treating someone in your family, to start to pay attention to how they act, how they, what you perceive from them, how they typically behave when they're healthy and how they behave when they're ill. And you will see a big difference. And that's going to help you to select the right remedy in order to help either yourself or someone else. I'm going to just say a few words about the flower remedies. So as an example of paying attention to your kids, for example, My older son is very emotional, and I know that just because this is how he typically is. But when he is triggered by stress or by external situations, sometimes his frustration or his like the sensation that he's out of control comes out as anger and irritability. And sometimes I find that difficult to not so much subdue, but just to kind of talk to him and talk him out of it. So I have given him flower remedies. Just take, so in this case, this one is mimulus, which is a flower. And again, it's alcohol based, and Bach flowers also come in glycerin. So those who don't want to use alcohol can use the glycerin version, and it's also good for kids and pets. It comes in these little, with a dropper, and so you would just put a couple of drops, usually 4 to 7 or 10, in some water. And I literally watched as in front of my eyes, like I said, hey, listen, I'm gonna give you something to help you calm down. And he said, I don't want anything, go away from me. But he knew my intention because he's used to me treating him all the time. So he took just one sip, and you could just see him relax. I could see him just like collect his thoughts, being able to process the stress that's going on around him. And that's what we are trying to achieve with homeopathy. We're really trying to get to a place where the body is not under so much stress that it can no longer heal itself. It wants to be able to process what's going on around it. And when it's able to do that, then it can heal, and then it can go back to the baseline homeostasis, where we're able to operate in all ways that we operate as humans or as animals. Eating, sleeping, drinking, having a great time, being functional, working. And the thing to really watch out for is the energy level and the vitality, what we call vitality, how we exist from day to day. Of course, if you find that you have chronic conditions, or if your child has a chronic condition, and that affects their vitality, that affects their mood, that affects or they have specific physical symptoms, that's not something that you should be treating on your own. Obviously, that's something that you should see a medical professional for. But if you need also homeopathic support, then you can reach out to a professional homeopath. If you want to ask me more questions, if you need my services, I am happy to help. I do offer several membership options now, where you can just pay one price per month and then feel comfortable that I'll be there. All you have to do is text me, and I will talk you through selecting a remedy and helping yourself, healing your family. I do recommend, as I said before, having a kit. You can get it from various sources. I always like going straight to the source, which is the Helios pharmacy. They're wonderful. But if you go with a different one, that's fine too. You can source them from wherever you feel comfortable. But having some homeopathy on hand, at least the polycrests, is really useful. It's useful to travel with. Taking arnica with you everywhere you go is going to be a life changer, as it has been for me. Before I close, I just want to give you a few more really cool tips on what you can start using right away, right now. And that is cell salt number 4. This one is my favorite. It is, as I said, Ferrum phosphoricum. And the reason I love it so much is because if I'm coming down with something, anything, literally anything, like I'm feeling a little under the weather, or I have maybe a headache coming on, a little sore throat, or a runny nose, I just take literally Ferrum phosphoricum tablet. Oh, it's sealed, and I'm not going to open it right now. But it comes in white tablets. And the best way that I find is you put it in a bottle of water, and you put like 4 tablets in the bottle of water. And then you shake it up and you sip. And so then you sip 1 dose per 15 to 20 minutes. So that's like literally your dosage. You take a sip, put it down, go about your day, take another sip 20 minutes later, put it down, go about your day. And very often, whatever you're coming down with, as long as it's not serious, because sometimes something that is a little bit more serious or something where your body really can't fight on its own and needs extra help, it might not work with. But in my case, if you're generally a healthy person and you are, or you're just like a little stressed or you're a little under the weather, that's a great way to go. And literally within a few hours, I am usually back to normal with just using Furum phosphoricum. So I really highly recommend at least getting that. And then for the higher potencies, I definitely recommend, as I said before, having arnica. But another remedy that is fantastic to have, because it will stop anything, any illness that starts suddenly. So as a let's see if it's here. I think it's here. Aconitum napellus, and another word that we use is aconite, is here. You can find it wherever homeopathy is sold. And the reason it's so awesome is that any shock, say you got some bad news, or you, God forbid, got into a car accident or some other kind of accident, or experienced a shock of any kind, and even like cold wind, you're out in the wind and you're like, oh, it's really cold, it's like blowing through you. That is a shock to your system. What happens is when there's a shock to our system and our body can't process it on its own, it starts to get display more symptoms for us to help it. And in that case, when you see a sudden change, like you are fine, and then at the end of the day, all of a sudden you're like come down with fever or body aches or something like that, and it's comes on very rapidly, Aconitum napellus is literally your number one friend. And again, this is a little bit more intense than Furum phosphoricum, because the cell salt Furum phosphoricum is good for a slower developing illness, whereas aconite is good for a sudden illness. So one example is I was recently in a car accident where I mixed up the brakes and the gas pedals on a rental car. This was not a fun experience. I do not recommend it, but it did happen to me. And what I had my kit with me, and I literally like hit a parked car that hit a tree. So it wasn't fun. But I knew, like, once the car stopped and I knew I was alive, the first thing I did was take aconite. The reason is that when you are in a state of shock, you can't process anything. A lot of times you're just like, I don't know my name. I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on. And even like in a car accident, you could be hurt physically, but you don't even process it. And then those pains, if you don't do anything, they will actually stay in the body. And a lot of times it becomes a long-term issue. It can start, like a long-term pain, a chronic, joint pain or neck pain or something like that. And you can prevent all that just by taking aconite. So I took a dose of aconite, like one little pellet, and I was like, all right, phew, now I can function. Now I can call the police and deal with whatever else I need to do with a clear mind. And so that's partly why I recommend having at least those three around, because you're going to see a huge difference in how you feel from day to day. So there was a lot of information. It took us a little bit over an hour. I don't know if I can see comments, but if you do have questions, I would love to answer them at this time. But I literally do not know if I can see comments. I'm so sorry. If anything, and you do have questions, just feel free to contact me through Facebook or on YouTube. Let's see. I'm just trying to figure out if I'm able to see any kind of comments. um, let's see if on YouTube it's visible. So again, I apologize for my awkward tech skills. I do not see any comments right now on Facebook. So, Okay, so I can open comments on YouTube either. And it's really awkward to be checking it at the same time as I'm doing it. So again, I won't be able to answer your questions right now, but feel free to reach out. And I'm going to be doing these more frequently, and the next time I do it is going to be much smoother. So that's pretty much it for today. I really appreciate those of you who stopped by, and I hope you come back again. I'm going to be also doing courses on specifically how to choose certain remedies for certain conditions, like for colds, what are some options? For GI issues, what are some options? What are some options for newborns, for example, or new moms who've just given birth? So there are some categories of remedies that can be helpful in certain conditions, and I will be making mini courses on how to select them, what to watch out for. And of course, you can reach out to me for homeopathic support. And again, thank you so much for stopping by. Till next time.